Well, it's 6 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Phil, if you can lead us in prayer.
Kind and gracious Heavenly Father, God, we thank you for this beautiful day you've given to us, Lord. We thank you for all the blessings that you bestowed upon us, Lord. God, during this Christmas season, Lord, I pray that everyone here has a Merry Christmas, and that we just do what we can to spread the Christmas spirit across our city and across our county. Lord, may go with us into this meeting, Lord. I pray that you grant us the wisdom and knowledge to make sound decisions for this wonderful community that we live in, Lord. This favor and blessings we ask in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. If everyone will join us for pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is to consider the agenda for adoption. We got a couple of changes under item 7, old business administration. Need to add item 2, move sign from Kelly Mill to Dobbs Creek. Then under item A, administration, number 5, advertising for the Christmas parade. And then also switch item B, planning and zoning, move it up in front of item A for administration. And those are the only changes. I have a motion.
Second.
Please vote. Carries 5-0. Next is item 5, consider for adoption the regular council meeting of November 20th, 2018. Do I have a motion? Please vote. Carries 5-0. Item 6, there are none. Item 7, old business. A, administration, number 1, 2019 budget resolution.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we presented the proposed 2019 budget a month ago at the November work session. At the November council meeting, we held a budget hearing. Now tonight, we're asking for the council to consider adopting the 2019 budget resolution.
Do I have any questions or discussion? I have a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Please vote. Carries 5-0. Next is number 2, move sign from Kelly Mill to Dobbs Creek, where we'd approved to put another second welcome to the city sign over at Kelly Mill and 20 in the states right away. Part of that process is the property owner that you butt up to has to give permission, and that lady has owned it for a long time, and people have asked her to try to put billboards there for years, and she told them no, and she's kind of like, well, now y'all want to put a sign up and I won't get paid. So since she doesn't want one there, and we didn't try to push the issue, the next place we're looking at doing one's at Dobbs Creek, and it actually works out. We'd be able to pay for the sign through splost revenue that passed, where we've got $1 million for the renovation and air conditioning and all that at Dobbs Creek. So, right. And so what we're thinking is move it back a little further than where it is, the sign is now, and kind of line some trees so you'll be able to see it both ways, coming north and south, and also as you pull in. So they'll be able to do city events plus programming at Dobbs Creek. One thing we talked about is it would still say City of Cumming on the beam across the top, but then they could put a banner always across the top that says Dobbs Creek's Rec Center. So so people know that's what it is, and that'd always be lit up, and then whatever advertising, would be below that, so that's my recommendation. If you've got any questions or discussion? Yep.
I'll make a motion to move to Downs Creek.
Second, please vote. Carries 5-0. Thank you. So next, with the move, do we consider that new item A or just going out of order, Kevin?
I would go ahead and consider it item A.
All right.
You made planning and zoning be what was being now item A.
Yeah. So next is item A, planning and zoning, number 1, conditional use permit, 2018-399. Scott?
This item is a conditional use permit for your consideration tonight. Will require a public hearing, but before we open the public hearing, I'd like to read the staff report into the record which you have in your packet. This is a conditional use permit by Terry Phillips. This is conditional use permit number 2018399. Mr. Terry Phillips has made application to the proper authorities to request a conditional use permit to order or operate an automobile sales establishment in the Highway Business Zoning District at 409 Atlanta Road. Mr. Phillips has had a history of not complying with city ordinances and regulations. In April 2015, Mr. Phillips completed electrical work without a permit or inspections at his automobile sales establishment at 208 Atlanta Road. This violation requires staff to shut off power of the business until Mr. Phillips obtained the necessary permit, inspections were completed, and the work was approved. In May 2018, Mr. Phillips was issued 2 citations from code enforcement of his automobile sales establishment at 374 Canton Road and given 10 days to rectify those. The first citation was issued for having a caretaker or night watchman living on site without applying for a conditional use permit. The second citation was issued for failing to obtain permits or inspections for electrical work on a concrete pad, a vehicle lift, and a storage building, all of which were previously installed. On August 20th, 2018, Mr. Phillips was issued a third citation from code enforcement at the same address for failing to provide sufficient customer parking. In September 2018, approximately 33 unregistered vehicles belonging to Mr. Phillips were illegally parked in the city's Casper Road parking deck. These vehicles were scheduled to be impounded from the deck after 5 days, however, they were removed prior to that deadline. On September 28, 2018, Mr. Phillips was issued a notice of violation for his automobile sales establishment at 409 Atlanta Road and given 7 days to correct these violations. These were for properly installed business signs, a loading, unloading zone not demarcated, and a storage building constructed within the building setbacks. On October 17, 2018, Mr. Phillips was issued a second notice of violation at the same address for parking vehicles for sale or on proper surface and given until the end of the business day to correct this violation. At a later date, Mr. Phillips was advised by staff to immediately obtain a sign permit for additional signage to be installed at 409 Atlanta Road without first obtaining that permit. On November 20th, 2018, the Planning Commission held a public hearing on Mr. Phillips' conditional use permit request, and having received no comments, they voted unanimously and recommended denial of this conditional use permit. I'll be happy to answer any questions before we open the public hearing.
Have any questions or discussion?
This is the property next to the old Mr. Swiss.
This is
No.
Mr. Smith.
Any questions? For Scott? I have a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open public hearing.
Second, please vote. Carries 5-0. Is there anyone that'd like to speak in favor of conditional use permit 2018-399?
I'm Terry Phillips, I own the truck tunnel sales. I'd like speak on what, Mr. Moore was talking about, all these complaints. He made a comment in 2015 that I didn't get an electrical permit and I was cut off power until I got it. That's not so. The guy come out, and he was real upset, Ford Grader was the mayor, and as soon as I put up a metal bid and did not know that I was supposed to get a permit for that, the company, I asked the company, so I didn't call in here and ask them. So I put up a metal building and I had it wired for some lights. So as soon as I found out that I needed to get a permit, I hired an electrician, we come down here and got a permit, we had it corrected, they come down the inspection, and we got it took care of. I sold that business to Kerry Martin, and I moved my business elsewhere, and then I came down to 374, and operated my business for a long time. And I come up here and got a permit for a pad down there to put up a building where I could get out of the sun to wash cars or whatever we need to do. Not knowing that I had to, after I got my permit, I did not know it was just a solid structure on the ground. I did not know that I had to have it inspected before I poured it. So the city advised me that I had to get it. I had to hire a company to come out and do an inspection, make sure it was safe, so I paid several $100s. And I brought the city a letter showing that the structure was safe, and the city approved it, and we went over that. Yes, before I got that letter for permit, I had ordered a lift to go in there, and the lift showed up way before I expected it to. I said, well, I didn't know you had to have a permit to put a lift up. So I just put the lift up, and we ran a temporary wire just to make sure the lift went up and down. And that was on Friday. And that Monday, the code enforcement people came out, and they said, you can't do this and you can't do that. So I always immediately took care of any request that the city has had for me to do. I've never argued with nobody. I've always said, well, I'm sorry, I did not know how to do that. I've always come up here and done what I'm supposed to do, and I have the correct people to do that. This little wood building was down there, I had down there, and I did have someone would stay late in the night for protection, because I had cars out there, you know, but anyhow, they told me I had to get this took care of within so many days, and I done it within 24 hours. I met all their requirements, I jumped through a lot of hoops, I gave the building away, which I purchased, and gave $5,000 for it. I didn't have time to sell it, so I put it on Facebook, and I gave it away. I loaded up myself on the car, and I delivered it to folks. I got in compliance with that immediately. Then they come back down, the city ordinance, the guy, that said, you gotta have so many parking places. I said, I didn't know that. So I immediately moved cars and made parking places. Okay, I did that. The parking deck issue, they only know about Mr. Morgan only knows about the cars after I told the chief of police that I had parked some cars over there. I went over and looked, because they told me I had to move all these cars, I had nowhere to put them. So I went over and looked at the parking deck, I said, well, there's no signs posted that you can or can't park cars there. There's no signs of any kind of restrictions. And I said, well, if there's no signs, no rules, I guess it's okay. And I was wrong, yes. I should have came and asked, or called somebody and asked, could I park the cars there? I parked the cars there, but the city never found the cars there. They never come out and wrote me a violation. Mr. Morgan only knows about the car after I presented it to our chief of police, which he's back there, y'all can ask him. I never got loaded up for them cars on that parking deck. The cars was long gone and moved before anybody ever knew it. The city council passed an ordinance that you have to get permission to park cars there over any 24 hours. So I had moved the cars. I moved some cars to different locations. I got permission on private properties until I could get Trucks Auto Sales at Mr. Swiss remodeled. Okay, Everett Thompson, I hired Michael Sexton, which is a very well-known builder. I hired him to come down here and get a building permit from the city. They issued a demo permit and a building permit from Michael Sexton. They issued a permit for me to start the remodel. Mr. Section looked over everything. I had all these codes that I had to do and meet, and I met them every day. Every time I get done with a project up there, I'd call for an inspection. Out of all the inspections, I never failed one inspection. Everything, the guy who comes out and does the inspection, he would come out and look, and it's a wonderful job. I have no complaints. I'm going to sign off on it. So I've got receipts here of over $56,000. Everything I've ever had left in my name, it's right here. That's what I spent up there remodeling that place. And I spent all my money to do this. I passed every inspection. Okay, I got done with all my inspections. I called for a final. I come up and done a final inspection. Okay, I also got a permit to put up a building out back, 20 foot wide, 25 foot long. And they said that the code, the city planning and zoning said I gotta get the place resurveyed. And they gave me a piece of paper showing it had to be 20 foot offset from the right of way, 10 foot from the back property line. So Michael Section, we went up there and we went by, and also the group that done the survey for me also marked off where I had to be compliant. Now, when we went by that compliance, so we marked it off, and I spent $10,000. That's not even in this list of $56,000 spent. So I spent $10,000 over the building to come out and put it up. Well, Mr. Morgan shows up one day out of the blue. He says, "You're in violation." I said, "What violation am I in, Mr. Morgan?" He says, "This building's supposed to be 40 foot from right of way and 40 foot from the back line." I went got the paper and I showed him, I said, "Y'all marked it in yellow, 20 and 10. They said, "Well, we didn't mark that." I said, "Well, I didn't mark it." I said, it shows. They said, "We're gonna give you 7 days to take this building down. You're gonna have to move it over here." I said, "Sir, the property's like this." And I said, "According to my plans and the inspection of the survey," and we had debate about it. He says, and these other violations that Mr. Morgan's talking about, he says, "While we're here, you can't have that dumpster out there. It's a new city ordinance. The dumpster has to be put in that dumpster building." And I said, "Well, sir, I'm not trying to argue no questions." I said, "But the movie theater has got dumpsters been set there since they're open. They didn't buy you. And what's the difference between their dumpster and mine?" I said, "Okay, I'll get rid of the dumpster." So I called the dumpster company. I got rid of the dumpster. I got a permit to put a sign on the front of the building. And they approved that. Okay? But the old Mr. Morgan, they said I couldn't do anything to that sign. So I didn't. But Mr. Morgan then come back and said I had to put a sign, close that in. So I did that. So they made me get another permit for that sign. Then I have another sign on the back of the old, the building, the lot says, the dumpster folks go in there. They said, "Well, you need to come get another permit for that sign's visible." Didn't do that. So I went down here and I got another permit. I have been very, very responsive, respectful. I've done everything. I've jumped through hoops to get this opened up here. Believe me, I've never spent over $50,000 remodeling this building and taking a chance for a special purpose permit. Nobody ever told me in the beginning that you was gonna spend $56,000 or $59,000. Then you gotta come and get a special purpose permit, which through the city council was voted on 2 days before and passed before I got my letter of occupancy and my business license. The city of Cumming has gave me my business license, my occupancy letter, I don't know if I said that right. They allowed me to open up the state, come out, I had to do an application to the state come out, look at the premises, look at everything. They gave me a letter saying I could be open, so I've been selling cars. Well, I didn't know nothing about this special permit, and then Mr. Morgan called me up and said, "Hey, you know you gotta get a special permit." I said, "A what? A special what?" He said, "A special purpose permit."
One more minute.
So I've done everything. I've got receipts, I've got a right review. I'm pleading with the board, please let me stay there. I have nowhere else to go. And I've done everything I can possibly do to try to satisfy the city. And I don't, anything done wrong, it's not out of anything else. I beg the board, please let me stay, please let me be in business, and I assure you, you'll never see me in violation of anything else, I'll assure you. That's all I'm gonna say here for place, I don't know what.
Yeah.
Stay here.
No, you can just sit down and then if they have any questions. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor of 2018-399? Is there anybody that'd like to speak in opposition to conditional use permit 2018-399?
My name is George Notel. I've been a resident here on and off for about 5 years. I bought a house here about a year and a half ago. I wanted to put a shed up. The first thing I did was call the county and said, what kind of permits do I need? They said, well, you're within the city limits. You need to go talk to the city planning folks. So I asked them, what kind of permit did I need? I hadn't purchased anything. I hadn't planned anything. They told me what size I needed to get a permit. Happened that I could get a size where I did not require a permit, so that's the size I went with. And then I finally purchased everything I needed. I keep seeing, it seems that every other building in the city of Cumming is becoming a used car lot or a pawn shop. And I'm very happy that one of the things with the city center, even though it's gonna be going behind my subdivision in Adele Park, nothing about used car lots and pawn shops. I think there are enough of them in the county now. That's what I gotta say.
And that's one thing we've passed now where you have to get approval for a car lot, a vape shop, a pawn shop, that kind of stuff. To where in the past, if you were in highway business, all you had to do is go get a business license and you were good to go. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak in opposition to 2018-399? We do discussion or close public hearing and then,
Close the public hearing.
Yep.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
please vote. Carries 5-0.
Scott,
Look.
was this a complete application, not a site plan in here?
No, there's not a site plan. We had the survey from 409.
How big is the site?
About a third of an acre.
Or the next? Mr. Phillips, how many cars do you have?
Right now, I have 18 cars.
Is that about how many you'd like to have, or few,
I like to keep at least 20.
20? Seems like a lot on such a small piece, it's pretty tight.
No, not 20. When I moved up there, first moved up there at 65, it fit them just fine. But it's almost, the plan, I think it showed 3/4 of an acre. But I had, the city made me, do markers, parking spots, parking lot, have it lined up, and I had all that done.
Any other comments or discussion?
We're, all these, permits and, I guess permits would be the term Mr. Phillips was using. He said somebody from the city came out and issued them or allowed him to set up shop, at least temporarily in the process. Is that accurate?
Well, what he did was he had the license at 374 Canton Road.
The one
The
down
one
here,
that's
yep.
up here in Canton Road West, and we let him transfer the business license from that location to 409 Another Road.
You knew that? You let him, when you knew that?
He transferred the business license there. And then I issued a zoning notice that was stated he was applying for, we, of course, if we had changed the ordinance and required, as Mayor said, conditional use permit and highway business for a used car establishment. So told Mr. Phillips at that point that he complied except for obtaining the conditional use permit from the council.
I don't know, Mayor, I think we need to have a site plan. Part of our application and requirements is to have a site plan, and our application states that if you're approved, you're bound by your site plan on file. I think it would require him to at least show where his parking spaces would be, and it would delineate the setbacks, where the building will be, and anything like that, to where he would be bound by that. It's just a thought, postpone it till the next 2 weeks if you think you could get a site plan done and present it for, as part of the application.
I'm asking, I'm totally, I can pull my bank account, show you out there. I've been drained. all this money, all this work, and didn't get a special permit, I never done this. I never would.
Can you do a site plan and drop that in to pay somebody else to do that?
You know, I mean, a surveyor would have to measure the distances, I mean, you could scale it and draw it in your hands, but
Yeah, but Christopher, we're gonna have to be careful right there now. We got a lot of car lots, and if one has to do it, all has to do it.
But it's just, yeah, those are grandfathered.
He's grandfathered.
Any new ones, could be, yeah.
He's grandfathered.
When you did get his business license, I don't disagree, but you apply for a conditional use permit, you're supposed to comply with.
And I'm against a car lot being on every corner, and a pawn shop on the other corner. I'm against that. But we gotta be careful right here.
Does being
We can't
grandfathered,
just set a law for something that we
But all
don't
our
want
applications- but all our
the person.
All our applications require a site plan because you're bound by that site plan in your application. That's the only thing I'm saying. I'm not saying whether or not you should be there or not, just that
Yeah,
we need to know what rules we're playing under.
yeah, but we didn't have.
question I have along those lines of saying you're grandfathered, does that include moving to a new location?
Well, the argument
Isn't-
is because he was issued
Because he was
his
issued.
permits and his building permits and everything, it's a
It was a
vested
building,
right.
but a building permit, it could have been doing the building and it be an ice cream shop.
Because those were given based on highway business allowing car lots. And so the idea is that he vested his right to a car lot there when he got those permits. It's an
Well,
argument.
that may be okay. That may be something we
I
have to do.
agree, and I don't disagree with Lewis, I don't disagree
But
with you that he
you
might be
do-
grandfathered,
You
but,
do need a site plan.
but I think we need something just to say, these are your setbacks, these are your parking number spaces, and these are where the building is. And like, that way everybody knows the rules and where we're at on it. Because right now, we don't know, we just got cars parked out there, and there's no, you have to go out there with a tape measure. I don't know.
But the thing is, if you put a site plan on it, and how many vehicles can be parked on that amount of acreage, you have to do that all over the city.
Just when they apply.
Just
for
when they
conditional
apply for a new one.
I know, when they apply for a new one, is what I mean.
That's fine.
Right. But see, he's not applying for a new one.
He's
He's
got a new
grandfathered
piece-
in.
He's got a new piece of property though, Louis.
Yep, yep,
I mean, he may not be applying for a new license, but he's got a new piece of property.
yep.
I can't imagine 65 cars on that small area.
What'd he say, he had 18?
18 now.
Scott, you do have a survey?
I'm sure the property owner has a survey.
Oh, I thought you said there was one.
No, I mean, I've got some that I've taken off of the county's GIS. I don't have an actual survey plat of the property, but I'm sure the property owner has one and probably could use that. And, as you said, just
Can we, to help Mr. Phillips on the money side, are you fine accepting a hand-drawn to scale site plan? When you go to do a building permit, you can do a site plan that, as long as you draw it to scale,
right.
it's the same, you don't have to go get a surveyor to do it.
Yeah. 'Cause, yeah, as long as it's off the survey, sure.
Right.
It's off the
You
plat.
take a survey and you hand draw to scale, here's where the building is, here's where the parking lots are.
And I don't think that'd be a bad idea, Mr. Phillips, for you, that, to protect you, so you know what's out, what the rules are.
I don't know how to do that. Let me kind of tell you this. I got married up here, my 16-year-old wife. And just old country boy, working my career around my life. I don't have a great education. I don't have a high school education at all. I don't know what's the scale means. I don't know how to draw
Well,
it.
listen to this, Scott, what are the setbacks and stuff in highway business?
They were, it's 20 front, I think it's 10 side and 20 rear.
See, you know where all,
I need to say
so
again,
there's setbacks on your property. in
20
highway
on the
business?
sides.
Yeah,
Okay?
and you know where all that is on your property,
Yes.
and how you're gonna line your cars up and everything.
They all in compliance with that. 'Cause me and Mr. Saxon went up there and we're all in compliance. And they see that building was the same compliance what he just told me. They made me tear it down, $10,000 building. I'm just telling you, why was I allowed all these permits and spend all this money and then tell me
I don't
no?
disagree with you, I'm just trying to,
Is the Mr. Swiss building still sitting there?
Yes, ma'am.
That's his office.
Look, man,
That's your office?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am,
Why
Ms.
did you
Green.
need this other building?
It was. for
Temporary
wash
storage.
cars
Wash cars in.
That was all, it's not even there anymore, it's torn out, all the way to 10,000.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah,
it
temporary
was a metal
storage.
building, and Mr. Phillips signed off on, every mountain that Mr. Phillips signed off on a plat, on a layout showing where the building was supposed to go, and, he didn't put it where the sign off was. I mean, we got a copy of it in the office I could share with you, but he was provided that copy and knew where the storage building was supposed to go, but he, whatever reason, they put it in setbacks, inside of the setbacks, not in accordance with the sketch that he had.
Did you know that when you put the building in?
I did put it where, this company told me to put it. They come out and told me 40 foot, and I got it to 20 foot. They told me 40. They're arguing the 40 versus 20. What's his name out here? Can't remember. I done exactly what he said. That's why I was so shocked. I done exactly what Mr. Morgan said, the 20 foot setback and the 10 on the back of the property line. And when Mr. Morgan come out, my wife was there. They said, no, you gotta be 40. I've got witnesses that says, my wife even a witness, you gotta be 40, Terry, not 20. And, it's coming down here, it is, I put exactly where it's supposed to go. I ordered that building, $10,000, I'm making payments on it every month and I don't have a building. You know, I throw 10,000, and I gotta pay for that. I can't just, that's, I mean, if nothing else, I beg the city council, let me put at least 20 cars, set their limit, 20. That's more.
Do we have any conditions?
You
Scott,
can-
were any
you can-
conditions contemplated?
You could put conditions.
There, no,
But-
we're not, we contemplate some legal conditions on.
But Chief Tatum. Mr. Phillips said nobody knew the cars were in the parking deck until he came and told you. Is that correct?
That's what he said, but that's not correct.
Correct.
I
They
didn't
were,
know you told them to see me.
there was an officer went out there and counted all the cars.
And ran
I
every
didn't
BIN.
know
Yep. Just,
But was there any sign that said I couldn't park? That's my argument.
no, there's not a sign, but there's no law in the, not every law in the land, there's not signs up for it. You know, it doesn't say, you know, don't make a U-turn when you're not supposed to make a U-turn, you know.
I moved
Don't-
immediately, and I apologize.
But I was just clarifying that that was not the case.
I did not know that, I'm sorry. But I didn't know it was I moved, and I moved, and nobody come told me I had to move, I moved them before I was told I had to move. It was long gone before I was told.
Mr. Phillips, the first thing in here is April 2015. How many years have you been in business, or have you owned businesses?
I've been a painter up here for 40 years.
How about, was that the first time that you had a physical location for a business with an office in 2015?
Just across the street from Dairy Queen, 208 Atlanta Road. And I painted that whole place up there, made it, you know, the city,
That-
Ford Baker told me what we needed to do. and I
That's
did.
okay, but so 2015 is the first time, so
Yes,
3, okay.
all it been real rapid to get took care of any complaints.
Right. No, I understand that, but just like the other gentleman, George, stated, which you've said, there's been some conflicting information, but you've said you've checked on permits, or you've moved or in accordance afterwards. But is it Notel?
Yes, sir.
No, like Mr. Notel said, he found out everything he had to do prior to spending the money. And that's awful that you spent the money, but he found out that information prior to spending that money and putting it up.
I did too. They didn't know this
But it's,
special permit.
something's not adding up.
Okay, let me say this. I got all my permits, done all my inspections, done everything before I could open up there. Okay, 2
They-
days before I got
Okay.
a CO from y'all, they,
He's not talking about that. He's talking about parking pads and people living on the property
Yeah,
and running
just
electrical and
But
all that kind of stuff.
Announce that bill.
So,
that was at the old location.
I know, that's what he's talking
no, I
about.
understand. My family's been in business for, quite a while, and I know every time you do anything, especially exterior, you know, you gotta check with
Well,
the
I-
city or the
right,
county
so we're-
prior to. And it's okay, I understand. I was just clarifying a few things.
So I.
Thank you.
So the extenuating circumstances here, I agree with Lewis, I agree with Mr. Notel, we got a lot of parking, and that's the biggest complaints we get, but I understand Mr. Phillips' circumstances too, and I think that there is a good argument legally, frankly, for him to have there, a lot there.
True, but we still need to know what he's got there.
Well, I don't disagree with that, so I think maybe if he's unwilling to do a site plan, and we let him through without doing one, I think maybe a proposal is, let's give the matter, can we wait 2 weeks to our regular meeting and come up with some conditions that you'd be agreeable to?
Yes, yes, sir, we
And
do.
different things like that? And Mayor, is that something that,
Yeah. So what's his name, Sexton, who was it did your work? I'm sure he could draw up for you a site plan. You may not be able to do it, just like you can paint a house and you don't want me painting your house, but that's something that he'd be able to do for you. And there's no real cost. It's take a tape measure and draw it out.
I think some of the conditions we could talk about are, you know, limit the number of cars, 20, if you'd be willing to do that, it'd be great. Kind of delineating where the parking spots are, you know, maybe some trees, if there's anywhere you could plant, and do some landscaping, that would look nice, that would be great. Maybe tying the conditional use permit to his business license, to where if he moves, you know, that lot's not always gonna be a car dealership, something like that. Anything else any of you guys can think of? I'd like to get some of that on paper before we take a vote, if that's okay with y'all.
It's fine with me. So,
What do you think? Does that work, 2 weeks, and we kind of get some of this together, and
Yeah, I go to Mr. Sampson and get him to,
and just tell him something basic, you don't have to be, you know,
in other words, what y'all want, you want to know how much acres I got there, exactly where the building sets, and how much,
and where the spaces will be, and put the cars. And if
they're
you-
there now, y'all like, go by and see.
And if there's any room, you know.
now what he's saying is just draw out, there's 10 parking spots on the right-hand side, draw out 10 parking spots on the right-hand side. The curb's not changing, the parking spots aren't moving, but write down, here's how many parking spaces.
I've already got it marked off.
I'm saying, just, all you gotta do, draw it out on a piece of paper and just show spot.
It would be perfect.
The landscaping is already there, there's grass on it, it's been there years and years.
If you'd be willing to.
Don't we need to say how many cars can be parked on a certain amount of property?
That's what he's saying is,
I know, but we're just talking about him. We can't do just one person, we gotta do everybody.
no, you can't the difference is this permit request, then you can put conditions on that one piece of
We
property.
can't do the other people because they're not asking for anything.
They're already
This guy is.
grandfathered in. It's for this one.
Yeah,
It's for this one.
but they've all got worn out cars that they got property for.
But at any time, any changes, then that comes up again for each one.
I'll make a motion to postpone 2 weeks, and, I guess, part of that, direct staff to come up with some of these conditions, or some language for that.
I have a second. Or
Second.
second.
But I want to add to it, that you draw your site plan, and it doesn't have to be measured out or whatever, just a very rough idea of what you've got on your sheet of land. That's perfect, don't pay anybody,
Need a
just.
second to the amendment.
Yep.
Need a second.
I need a second with discussion.
Do I have a,
What do we need?
Give it a second to her amendment and then vote on the main motion.
do I have a second to Linda's amendment?
Second.
Unless you wanna make another
No,
amendment.
that's fine.
You want to
That's,
make a third?
no, that's
Then
that's
a vote
fine.
on the main motion.
Yeah, vote on the amendment and then vote. Oh, no, you can vote on the motion as amended. Under your new rule, you can vote on the motion as amended.
So you want a motion on,
Vote on the amendment.
Yep.
so you have to vote on it, we have to vote on
Please
Linda's
vote.
My
amendment?
amendment is
So a
that
motion
you
to
draw
vote
your
on it.
site plan Himself.
On-
You don't have to
The
make a
amendment.
motion, it's just,
Just have to vote on the.
Just
Yep.
vote on the
Please
amendment.
vote on the motion as amended.
Vote on the amendment. and then
Vote on the amendment by raising your right hand.
Made this too confusing.
Carries 5-0. Y'all are killing Jeff down there.
Okay, now we vote on
Now, on the
But-
main motion.
Then vote on the main motion by raising your right hand for yea. Motion carries 5-0. We'll see you in 2 weeks, Mr. Phillips.
Did not come here, I'll go down.
It will be upstairs in the 3rd floor, council chambers,
Can I get the-
6 o'clock.
Is it 18?
All right. So now, item B, administration, number 1, GMRC presentation by Heather Feldman. And 10 minutes max, please.
Well, good evening, first of all. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me time to come here tonight to talk a little bit more about the GMRC and the services that we can provide. But first, I just want to mention Councilman Evans, thank you for your participation on our council as well. And we also claim Kevin Talent as he serves as our council as well. With me tonight, I have our Vice Chairman, Sam Norton, who is also the Mayor of Dahlonega, so we're very fortunate to have him with us.
This time of year, my wife just watches Hallmark movies. Not that I'm not interested, I just can't take it.
Following that up is Adam Hazel, who serves as our planning director. Just wanted to mention what our mission statement is. I won't read that to you. You guys are educated. You guys can certainly read that. One thing I do want to mention about our mission statement is we serve as an extension of local government, simply put, in the areas of our different departments, which is our economic development, information services, planning, and workforce development. So we have been around for 56 years, so we are not new kids on the block. We have had a great partnership with the city of Cumming and with Forsyth County in that 56 years. And I've been with the organization for 17 years. And so we've been able to kind of see this particular community evolve from a very rural community to a very progressive economy. And we've been kind of sidestepped with you in that process all of these years. As I mentioned, we are governed by the Georgia Mountains Regional Commission Council. There is 44 members on that council that serve. We represent 13 counties and 38 cities, so we have 51 total municipalities and counties that we serve. And we are funded through several different ways. We are part federal, we are part state, we are part local. We are kind of a hodgepodge. This is our region, as I mentioned, those 13 counties, and then all the municipalities within that. So that is kind of the overall picture, the landscape of our region. Our population is roughly around 700,000 for these 13 counties. This is the way our funding is structured. As I mentioned, the different sources, the federal, state, and local. Local dues is based at $1.10 per capita, which was set by our council many, many years ago. We also receive state and federal administrative contracts, which allows us to carry out the mission of our organization. Our total budget's about $6.4 million, and the lion's share of that comes from those federal and state grants. Those are mostly through partnerships with Appalachian Regional Commission, Economic Development Administration, DOT, and so forth. So you can see what the leverage is on the local dues that we receive versus the federal and state grant allocation that we get. As I mentioned, I know I'm going through this quickly because normally it takes me about 25 or 30 minutes to do this full presentation. So I'm certainly available for questions at any time though. But as I mentioned, these are some of our partners that we receive those federal and state contracts for to carry out our mission. And I'll quickly talk about each of our different departments. As I mentioned, I have been with the organization for 17 years. I've been executive director the last 2. My background for the other 15 years was in economic development. Our primary focus is grant and loan writing. We do grant administration, support for business recruitment. We work very, very closely with Bureau County's economic developer, Robert Long, on new industry, expanding industry, workforce development, those types of things. Mostly this covers many, many region, so it's important to note that there are opportunities for that. While the city doesn't qualify for certain particular grants, there is a number of grants on the federal side and on the state side that you do qualify for. This is a snapshot. Of course, this is collective of our entire region. We have 72 approved grant and loan applications over the last 5 years. That was $21 million in grant funding that was awarded back to local communities. So as you can see, we have a great track record in our economic development department as far as grant preparation, grant administration. You can certainly see the number of jobs that were leveraged as a result of these projects. Our information services, that's kind of a fancy name for Geographic Information Systems, GIS, and I know Faith Bryan in our office, she's our director, has worked very closely with you, Scott, as well as Adam has worked with Scott as well. Primary put, we do water mapping, sewer mapping, other utilities. I know most recently they assisted you with the local update of census addresses or the LUCA process. Cemetery mapping, it kind of runs the gamut of it. As I mentioned, recent projects, and this is kind of interesting, we keep everything. And one thing I always say when communities are faced with a decision whether to utilize the regional commission or look at an outside consultant, we are with you at the beginning. As I mentioned, we have a 56-year history. We're with you during the process, and then we're with you at the end. We haven't gone anywhere. This map is very, very dated. We were, I think, Regional Development Center at the time. So I thought that was kind of interesting in our archives that we have some of these different maps. I know recently they had mentioned the cemetery proposal that was submitted, local updated census addresses, and the aerial photography project. We just had one this year, 2018, but you guys actually participated in that in 2015, which enables you very accurate on-the-ground data as you're planning your projects and your economic development activities. Our planning department, we kind of have two facets of that, whereas we are assisting our communities in carrying out their plans for their future through comp plans and so forth. But we also provide transportation planning, environmental management on our state contracts as well. The means in which we do that, as I mentioned, local comprehensive plans, we do historic preservation, we do transportation planning, environmental planning, broadband, as I mentioned, is a key element now, and that's going to be incorporated into comp plans going forward for the state. I know many of you have been utilizing the Regional Commission for your developments of regional impact or your DRI review, so we can certainly do that. We do serve on the Water Council for this area as well. These are some of the most recent projects in our planning department specific to the city of Cumming, the Safe Routes to School assessments. That was a county-wide project that looked at all the different elementary and middle schools in the county to assess what their needs are, whether it be crosswalks, whether it be signage, whether it be lighting, making sure that those routes to your schools are safe. Developments of regional impact, I mentioned that, as well as the Atlanta Highway Corridor Study, which I'm going to highlight here in a minute. But as you can kind of see, we can certainly build upon our relationship that we have and our future relationship. I know y'all have your big city center development project, and transportation is a huge need here. And so you can kind of see where some of our background can certainly help you as you're carrying out these missions. Great thing about this project, the Atlanta Highway Corridor Study, NATO is the National Association of Development Organizations, which is the umbrella agency for all regional commissions. They may be called something different in other states, but your basic local planning district. So this is covers all 50 states. Every year they do a call for innovative projects that regional commissions or your planning districts have worked on in partnership with our communities. And so this was one that was chosen earlier this year, and that is your Atlanta Highway Corridor Study. And so this was one of about 63, 65 projects across the nation that was selected out of Washington, D.C. So kudos to the city on your efforts in this project. And Adam submitted that on your behalf, so just wanted to highlight that project.
Before you leave that, what did that show? Yeah, what did it tell us?
That's part of our beautification that
Yes.
we're working on right now for sidewalks and landscaping from Dairy Queen to the old Mr. Swiss.
And Adam, did you wanna?
Goes all the way down.
But that's what they do in Atlanta.
The notion was when the city assumed control of the roadway that they had swapped with the Georgia Department of Transportation, they wanted to come up with an overall game plan for what it should look like to make sure that the development coming into it had an overall master strategy that complemented your goals and vision for the area. So we came up with that assessed some of the groundscape of the infrastructure, what you could do, what type of policies and beautification you might want to put in place to give that the cohesive feel you want leading into downtown.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And we can certainly provide you any additional information on that. You will see that our presentation did change. This is a branded effort through the state, through the Technical College System of Georgia. WorkSource Georgia Mountains is what we're called. WorkSource Georgia is the state entity, of course, that flows down to our local workforce development area. They require that we utilize their PowerPoint. So as I mentioned, WorkSource Georgia Mountains, this is a fancy name for workforce development. And so we serve as the fiscal agent for Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. You know, we live in acronyms, so WIOA for short. We receive those funds from the feds, and that is really geared towards 3 different pools of money that we receive. So it helps your adults, your dislocated workers in your community, as well as youth. It's really geared towards training individuals and retraining individuals to go back into the workforce. On the youth side, we have projects with our youth detention center and really trying to teach those soft skills and trying to reduce that recidivism rate. So there's many different facets to this. And like I said, I know I'm going fast and I can certainly leave additional information for you as well.
How do you utilize those funding sources as the city, how would we utilize them?
It's mostly going to be more on the participant side of things. So it's really a matter of spreading the word. We cannot use our funds for advertising. And so we try to partner with our communities to help get the word out. This is
They
a
would go to you guys for these. Okay.
correct. So if you have, constituents that come to you that are looking for a job, so forth. These are our two.
This gets posted on Facebook too.
Yes, we just passed.
I actually just shared it today.
1,000 likes on Facebook.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, last week.
They're gonna be at the library.
Mhm.
I forgot the date, but you may be
Yes,
getting to that.
Yes, that is coming up. So, these are our mobile training units. This is our large unit, and it seats, 10 on there. It is fully equipped with satellite capability. This was,
Says there's all kind of
at the,
grants, what
Technical
grants do we
College,
qualify
at your campus here. And really what these do
Hmm.
is they
I
allow
don't know.
individuals
We'd
to
have to
come
find
onto
out.
the units, to do career searches.
It's everything I've tried. We didn't
Resume
qualify for
building,
it.
cover letters. During the recession, it was great to do
Yeah.
rapid response. So when industry was shutting down, we would take the unit there, try to get those individuals, try to get them back into the workforce as quickly as possible. Our business services side, this is one that our WorkSource team has been working very, very closely with Robert Long on. We do incumbent worker training, on the job, and registered apprenticeships. The two first one, the incumbent training and the on-the-job training, those are geared towards making sure that those individuals can compete with the technology that's changing. So incumbent worker, those are companies and businesses and industries who currently have employees that may need to learn a new skill as robotics, mechatronics, things of that nature are coming into the region. We're trying to get those individuals geared to the training that they need to be efficient in their job. On-the-job training is individuals who are looking to go into an industry, and what we can do there is provide reimbursement for the training that they may need. So the industry hires them, we just pay for their training. And that's about 70% that we can pay on those two first programs. Just some highlights from the WorkSource side of things. On those two mobile training units, we also call them career coaches, kind of interchangeable. 612 responses. So a response is somebody needs a job search. It may be a cover letter. It may be just some training on some soft skills. We tally all of those up. So this is just for, we don't do it based on city, but we do it as a county-wide. So in Forsyth County, just since January 1st of this year. 612 responses on the career coaches. These, Jason, as you mentioned, these are some of the places that we have been at with our units. And then we had 42 new participants that were enrolled this year. 26 on the adult side and 16 on our youth side. Educational outreach. This is something that we are really pushing as of late. Our organization just adopted, our council adopted back in July, a strategic plan for our organization. We have never had one in the past, and so one of the things that we look at is how do we get our word out? What can we be doing to partner with our communities? And so some of the different ways that we do this is through our city and county manager meetings that we have quarterly. Lunch and learns, this has been really, really big lately, and Adam's done a great job with that. Tiny houses, the short-term rentals that your communities are facing, that's something that we're looking at. We did one recently on bicycle and pedestrian planning. So just ways that we can provide you all information that you need to be successful for your community. As the legislature gets geared up in January, we will be sending out legislative updates. That information, I usually send that to the chief elected officials, so Mayor, you'll be on that list, as well as the city and county managers in the region. So those are things that we are tracking that certainly impact you all as city decision makers. And then our city and county retreats. We do retreats for free, so if you guys are interested or you have department heads that you want to do a retreat, we're very, very neutral as our organization states, and we can certainly provide that service for you.
Maybe one more minute.
That's the last slide.
Good.
So I just want to sum up and to close that utilize us. We are here for you. As I mentioned, we have a great track record, a great partnership with you. We're here before, we're here during, and we're here after. And just contact me at any given time. One thing I always like to point out is utilize us for the special projects. It may not be something that you think of that's in our wheelhouse, but as I mentioned, 25, 30 minutes to go through very, very detailed about what we can do. And so I would offer to you to contact us if there's something that you think of, think out of the box, think innovative. We're here to help you. And
What's the
that's
best
my
way
plan.
you see municipalities utilizing you guys?
I'm sorry?
What is the best way for us to utilize you? What are you seeing other municipalities doing that maybe we're not, that we can do better to utilize?
One thing that we've had some of our cities do is when they are doing their budget and they are looking at their capital improvement project listing, they send that to us. And that's one thing that we can do, say, water, you need water to this particular industry, or you need water to this residence, or it may be green space, or it may be a recreational trail. All of that kind of goes onto a list, and then we're able to match that up and provide, here's some sources that you might be eligible for, here's some things that we can do in planning. It may be conceptual design, or it may be, something of that nature that we can certainly help with. And that's one thing that has really helped, I think, both us as a regional commission as well as the community.
What about grants?
Anytime, they are open. As I mentioned, there are multiple grants that are geared for tourism, there are grants for recreation, there are grants for police, there are
Like our
grants
new city center that we're hoping to build. There would be grants we could get for that.
Absolutely, there would be. Absolutely, and it's just a matter of me coming over, sitting down with you and having that one-on-one discussion. And I'm a very visual person. I like to ride the communities and be able to point out, okay, here's where it's going to go. This is what we're envisioning. It just kind of helps me there. If you have plans, which I think I saw when I was coming in on the TV for your city centers, things of that nature. As long as we know what they are, then we're willing to help.
And I would say anything where you're already so busy at the staff level with your day-to-day stuff that you need something for that unique project, or a little bit of research or another outside opinion on a matter, that's one thing that we can certainly provide.
So what does GMRC offer different than ARC?
GMRC is very different in that we're accessible, I would say. ARC right now you guys are the big fish in a very tiny pond. Atlanta Regional Commission, you'd almost be a tiny fish in a very, very big pond. The core competencies of the way the state factioned out regional commissions, we all have the same core competencies. So they're gonna do GIS, they're gonna do economic development, and so forth. Their budget is very, very large compared to what we are. But we are accessible. We are, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, given traffic, right down the road that we can be here. Whereas go to Atlanta, you're going through traffic, but we offer the same services. And one of the things that I like to push, again, those specialized services, it may not be in our wheelhouse now, but we like innovative projects. I think we can get stagnant in our jobs if we're not challenged. So that would be a challenge that I'd offer to you.
I'd also point out that because of the mandates with some of what ARC has for their funding, they have a lot of things that are top down in terms of their regional plan and what they direct on some of their local governments. Most of what we do is bottom up. We take stuff from what the local governments say they want, and then we build from there. They have things that they're trying to do on behalf of the state and for what they are pursuing on behalf of that metro scene. And it's going to keep evolving eventually. That I think there'll be a lot that's done at the state level in that regard. The transportation side of what they offer, for instance, it's a separate animal from what ARC is, even though they do manage it, but they provide it for 8 counties outside of their administration, and they kind of prefer it that way. Like I said, there's a difference between bottom up and top down.
It's the way to put it, if we might not do the in sync with some of the things that they think we should do.
Their regional plan is decidedly different than ours. I can say that.
But they do have a lot more restrictions on land use and things of that nature, just because of being in Atlanta and having that tie, that connection. Air quality, things of that nature, they're all a lot different than the regulations that are set for our region.
Does our Chamber of Commerce work with y'all?
Yes, through Robert and on the economic development side. And James McCoy used to be a council member many years ago. So,
Well, we've not had a lot of economic development in the last year or two, and I just wondered, we probably need that.
yeah, mostly on our workforce development side. In fact, they were actually, I believe, at Tyson this morning. Our workforce staff and Robert and Chamber were there. So we work very, very closely.
Any other questions for Heather or Adam?
Heather, do you happen to know what the Atlanta Regional Commission's dues are on a
Same
per capita?
cost.
It's the same?
$1.10.
Okay.
Well, do we have a choice of joining one or the other?
Well,
Yeah, you could
Some of
join
the
either
discussion.
one, but it's gotta be the city and county together.
It's the Department of Community Affairs is actually determines who's going to be in what region. It would require an act of both the city and the county to get the Department of Community
To
Affairs
change it.
to change it.
So we
And
really
the
don't
change
want
would, the change would then have to be passed by the General Assembly. But that's the mechanism, that's the state law mechanism for how that works. So
But until we are more, what would I want to say? In tune with the city of Atlanta, rather than kind of rural, we really would need to have
the Atlanta Regional Commission is making a presentation to the county. So that's kind of why some of the questions we're asking are reflecting off of Atlanta.
The county pays the dues, the city doesn't. So the county is getting a presentation from ARC, which they'd present to us at the same time. So that's why we got GMRC here tonight, so that you can see what both have to offer.
Why would ARC want us?
Money.
Money? Oh, okay.
So,
That's the way I see it.
Everything more.
I mean, that's the way I see it.
any other questions? Thank you.
Thank y'all very much for your time.
Thank you.
It's about a long way, so don't hesitate to call me.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next on the agenda is number 2, filming policy.
Mayor, Council, in your packet, you'll see a sample of a training policy that, this is just for information tonight. Let's have a look at this and consider it for a future meeting. We've had,
a lot of requests?
well, really?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
City on property, Mary Alice Park.
Had one today, had one today, but it turned out it's not in the city, it's actually in the county, but it was right on the,
My staff tried to stalk Mary Alice Park one time with Luke Wilson. Just wanted to go out there the whole time.
and they saw it was me. And but anyway, yes, not Luke Wilson.
We need to settle down,
This
don't
is
they?
just for consideration right now. It may be time that we consider adopting a formal policy where we have a permit that they have to get, that, for nothing else, it lets us know what's going on where, and, gives us kind of a heads up on any services that we may need to provide, like traffic control or, you know, just whatever the situation may be. But, South County has a policy, talked to Tim Mayer about it this morning, and he's gonna send me a copy of theirs, just so we can look at it, I haven't gotten it yet.
But it would be administrator approved, right?
Yeah.
It would,
Right.
I think we definitely need one, because I don't know some of these that mess. It helps to
Kind
know.
of gives you a chance to.
I only charge them $100 for a permit.
What's gonna happen.
Man, they could afford more than that.
Eastwood could have come here and filmed a mule.
Yeah.
I gotta go see it the 14th.
What's that now?
That's
Man,
private
Eastwood.
property owner, they gotta work that out with.
New movie, 14th.
Right, like this private
December,
property,
the
that's worked
mule.
out with them, but if they're filming within the city limits, we need to know about it for, you know, public safety or even, traffic.
moral. Well, I saw that, I thought, my gosh.
Well, like the one today was for a car chase scene, and it's just outside of the city limits. But, you know, it's gonna tie up a section of Ball Ridge Marina Road, it's down to Marina. But we need to be able to alert our people, you know, that that's going on in that area. And so, they might, I don't know, but there's a lot of secrecy around it, they don't want you to know.
Tim Ray.
So if you have to close off like a street or something like that, how, we just work that out in negotiations with them, or?
Yeah, I mean,
Or how does that work?
And speaking with the mayor back here of Longview, you know, I think I need to talk to him a little bit more about this too. There's some fees that we could assess for, you know, nuisance fees.
Well, if we had to use some of our PD.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's.
They might wanna just be in the-
More,
in the
looking
picture.
into
And like
before
they
we're ready
said,
to
this
pass.
virtual, you know, y'all better post rules.
They shut us down.
So see, that's not really great, you need to get money
Yes.
for that.
And we've talked to her before. Michelle Daniels with the chamber is, really involved in this, and she's been a big help so far with any questions we've had.
So that's something that anybody else, any questions, we're not gonna act on it. This is just something that may get some tweaking before the council meeting in 2 weeks. Anybody got anything they wanna add? Moving on, number 3, Development Authority, new members.
Mr. Mayor, you had a development authority that was established by the city back in the 1970s, and it was reactivated several years ago. The term of every development authority member, however, have expired. They are technically continuing to serve, and they will continue to serve until new members of the development authority are appointed. And I think it would be appropriate, since we have a bunch of people serving on expired terms, that you appoint new members to your development authority. 7 is the number. And so I was bringing this, want to bring this up to get input from the council. We'll need to do a resolution at a future meeting naming these people, whoever it is the city wants to have on the development authority. I have no idea if we have names tonight or if we want to think about that over the next 2 weeks or how you want to go about it. That's the reason that's on the agenda is for that purpose.
I've got a list of 7 names that I spoke to that would be willing to serve. Lisa Mason, Eric Bennett, Brad Garman, David Leathers, Eric Kimbrell, Kelly Lamb, and Jason Evans off the city council. Oh, I'll give it to him, that'll be easier. But those are just some proposed names, since you're saying we've got to do it by resolution at the council meeting. So if anybody's got anybody, just let me know. Any other questions or discussion? All right, moving on, the next item is the Downtown Development Authority.
So, Mr. Mayor, this is a little bit different. The Georgia General Assembly created a downtown development authority for every municipality in the state. But in order to utilize it, you have to pass a resolution activating your downtown development authority. The purposes of the downtown development authority are a little bit different. The city limits of Cumming, we had it up there a second ago on one of those slides. It's geographically, not every bit of the city of Cumming is downtown. So what you would do in this resolution is you would establish what you consider to be your downtown area. I'll just tell you, if you have no problem establishing not only the government center here, but also the new city center property as part of your downtown, that would certainly give you the definition of that. A downtown development authority also has, I'm going into a little more detail, but you've never activated yours, so I want you to understand the difference between a development authority and a downtown development authority. The downtown development authority is focused just on developing your downtown. It can do things like beautification projects, it can do things like revitalization projects. It can also own and manage real estate. So to the extent that you're going to be doing something with your city center where you're going to be owning property and leasing property, you can do that through your downtown development authority. So you're not necessarily having the city be the one that's doing the leasing. You can actually use your downtown development authority for that. They can employ someone to manage that. A development authority cannot do that. Just so you understand, a development authority cannot be a lessor. They would have to employ a whole different company. They could own the property, they have to get somebody else to act as the lessor, and it's just a little more complicated and cumbersome for a development authority to do those things. Same thing, 7 members. You can also have a member of your governing authority serve on the downtown development authority as well. If it's your pleasure to activate the city of Cumming Downtown Development Authority, same thing, we need to do a resolution for that. And then name the 7 members who you'd like to see on.
Let me ask you something. A development authority can borrow money, correct?
They both can, yes.
Oh, they both can?
Yes.
Okay. But the downtown group can lease property,
That's
own and
correct.
lease property, where
That's
the
correct.
development authority cannot do that.
That's correct.
Okay.
And now, can the development authority or the downtown development authority borrow money without permission from the council?
You would need to put some kind of restrictions in place
Right.
on that. So you would need to, you would have to make, you would want to make it so that you have to approve those things.
Exactly.
Because now they can issue revenue bonds, for example, but that's a much longer process where the city has to be behind it. Because you're pledging, when you do something like that, the full faith and credit, the taxing ability of the city has to be behind all those things. So it's a system where the city is going to be behind it every step of the way. And so if you're not on board with it, they won't be able to
Right.
do it.
That's what I want to make sure, as long as council is agreeing with me, that we have that in both the downtown and the development authority resolutions, that they can't borrow money without approval by the council. Don't need somebody going rogue and putting the city basically in debt. So,
I'm sure the county has that, those stipulations, right?
I haven't reviewed the county
I bet they
development authority
do.
resolution, but I would
and the same members can serve on it as
Mhm.
the other. I knew that, but I wanted
Well,
the
can you
council
not
to know
make
that.
different ones?
You can.
Can members be removed? Do you have to have, I guess we'd have to have a vote to remove members if they're not
So once you
performing
put-
adequately?
Once you put someone on board, they have an interest, as you consider a property interest in staying on the board. So if you had a reason to remove someone, absolutely, it would get through a vote. That's one of the things that we'll do, just incidentally, when we do a resolution, we'll set up terms, and we'll stagger your terms, so you'll have some people on 2-year terms, 4-year terms, and 6-year terms, and everybody will take into that. So you got somebody you're not sure about getting a 2-year term, you can check them out first.
Do a lot of damage in 2 years, probably.
And do you see an issue of including Mary Alice Park in the DDA?
In the Downtown Development Authority? So the way that works is, in your resolution, you declare what the downtown area is.
So it's up to us to
I think
determine.
We need to have a good reason for tying it in. I think it's probably the biggest issue. Make sure we have a good reason for tying it in.
Well, it's the largest piece of property that we have access to as far as putting anything.
Could you not make the argument that the city's so small, it's all downtown?
I think I don't know the people who live in this residential area who appreciate that.
Oh, just be okay.
Because it's just to deal with Mary Alice, if we were to ever get development there, you're subleasing that to, another entity because we don't own it. We have a lease with the Corps.
Well, that's actually, believe it or not, a really complicated issue because you first have to get the Corps' permission to do a lease with somebody.
No, I get that, but a development authority couldn't then sublease it, right?
You can't even get it to your development authority on the Corps' permission. No.
Right.
Yeah, so it's the Corps.
So that'd have to be something really just with the city then?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes, exactly.
That's what I was
That's-
getting at
I'm
is,
sorry, yeah, that came up, believe it or not, when we were doing Great Wolf.
Right.
And we were trying to look at a way to get it to a development authority, and the Corps wanted it to stay with the city
Okay.
itself.
All right. Good to know. Is there any other questions or discussion on that? All right, so if you can just prepare those.
Okay, I'll
For-
just wait to hear, if it's okay with
For
you,
2
Mr.
weeks,
Mayor,
yep.
I'll have the resolution prepared, if Mr. Higgins can just give us the names that,
Right,
that will be ultimately used, and that's how we'll go forward.
right, okay. Moving on, number 5, advertising. You wanna do it, Phil, or you want me to, or trying to find it?
Scott County News, advertising for their lunch special, we know this time of year on advertising, we'll like to decrease the rate for advertising, and then the upcoming events we got, the Christmas parade, and skating, ice skating, down at the fairgrounds, maybe a good time if we can get it advertised about weekend and Sunday places, which I think we can, we've talked about that. We wanna run a half-page color ad about the parade, it may be a good time to do that. We also get, digital, advertising site, news.com. So in your packet, you should see that, color, page on that will list the rates. This was something we did a budget for, so seek the council, direction on.
What's the difference in these two? One might just be a line,
Yeah, 1.99.
and the other one would be code.
So it's saying one price covers 3 days, so
Yeah.
if we approve this now, Kelly, what 3 days do we get?
Crystal might know. But we could get it in for, this Sunday special.
I would think so.
Well, that would give us what, Sunday, Wednesday, Friday,
What do you want to advertise? What do we want to
the
advertise?
Christmas parade, and then we can throw in the skate rink, the festival, just to, if somebody's not on Facebook, it's not really been covered, just letting people know, because this is the first time that we've done it. That the city's done it, you know, in this location, so it's just kind of letting people know.
Well, it's still the one to do, understand, it's one full page is $2,250.
One of them's more for the plant side, and the other one's more the digital packages, so you would get things like on their website and their email blasts and things like that. The digital
Okay.
stuff. I think that's the second thing.
This is the print,
Yeah.
the expensive.
Yeah. Which I think there's some photos that's just digital.
Well, that might be, when you're looking at the digital side,
Yeah, that's for $8.99, one full page.
I was looking at that too.
South County News.
Yeah, you can get a Sunday edition on in the paper,
Right.
and then the rest on digital.
Yeah.
For $8.99, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
From what we pay for advertising in the legal section, that's.
Yeah.
Right, what do y'all think about that?
That's not too bad.
That would be a one page in this Sundays, and then the parade's next Saturday.
Pretty cheap. This is a little bit high. But
Yeah.
cheap.
Gotta pay Kelly's salary.
Me too.
Well, I have a motion to proceed with the $8.99 package.
So moved.
So as long as you can, because it's Wednesday, Friday, or Sunday, as long as they
Yeah.
get you in on
Exactly.
Sunday, which is gonna be the highest,
Yeah.
which is gonna
I
be
think
the
that's
highest.
kind of saying, I guess, choose which one.
Right, as, what I'm saying, as
Right.
long as they can get you in on it Sunday.
No,
We want it
we've got time. Crystal's already got the stuff together to do
She's
it.
always busy.
Yep. Linda made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Next is item C, utilities, proposal to raise water meter and sewer capacity fees.
I wanted to bring it to your attention that there's a potential to raise water meter fees, sewer capacity fees. Did make a mistake, this, you're not to propose, it's in the proposed, but the last proposal column there is if you look through for Scott County rates, here, like 3/4 inch water meters are the meters that we use at home. And for Scott County, just raised theirs to 2,238. I think you have a chart in your package.
We do.
Gwinnett County is 15.3, Gainesville is 2,850, Cherokee is 783. The average is about 2,078. Our town is 1,600, and we were considering maybe going up to $2,200 for residential water. If you look down the aisle there, of the roads that you can see, for example, 1 inch, we're at 3,300, Gainesville's at 5,600, if you went to 3,800, you'd still be below, Gainesville and Cherokee, 2 inch, it's pretty much the same, really low, even compared to that, Gainesville. 3 inch, for Scott County, 22,380, Gwinnett, 40,000, Gainesville, 35, looking at going from 18,900 to 22,000. 4 inch, it's kind of good just to look at all these numbers. just to see all
Why's
these-
Cherokee so low?
Where are they low at? Well, which one?
The 3 inch, they're 17,000.
3/4 and 3 inch.
So low compared.
Then you jump to a 4 or a bigger,
Then they really jump.
they're way the other way.
Then you go to 4 inch and that's 65,000. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. I think we've got some ways to raise the water meter rates and generate more revenue. In addition to that, if you look at the sewer rates, for Scott County, they've raised theirs to 7,702. Look all the other counties, we're 4,100 to 5,200. We're currently
attention, and, you know, if you have any questions, I'm glad. to
I got a
answer.
question, why do we have 3 roads?
Different areas for different, like, all the way out 20 to Swanee's a different rate than right here in town for your sewer tap, because you gotta run it so far.
One thing you think about is when you have,
How far they are from?
just maybe you have pump sewer from way down, you know, up close to the Chattanooga River up, and then you cross 400 over there, Buckleview plant. It's a this infrastructure that takes more hours.
Should we take that out, though?
Well, it makes it a single rate all the way through.
I say just go up.
What is, is this is just for new meters or taps, right? So
Yes,
it's like,
sir.
it wouldn't be a replacement.
That's correct. We're not replacing some of these, no paint ball. Meters are sewer tax.
Well, wouldn't you still want to charge the people that's way out there, as you say, more than the people who are starting a new project closer to the plant?
We can go, we could keep the 8250, and we just have 2 rates. The farthest folks away could be 80.
He's getting, proposing to raise it,
In that area.
so you're offsetting it, so you're covering it.
So it would just offset each other?
That probably ends up being more overall, but, yeah. So raising the lower rates a little higher allows farther out to be a little lower. Probably easier for them to keep track of.
I did not want to add in the city of Atlanta rates, they're unbelievable. So those are some of the cities and counties around us, and they still have to go over. They still have to go over more. Any questions?
Is this the way you would do it? You think the 75 overall is the best?
You know, it would make it easier for record keeping if we had one rate. The reason for this, we're still a growing utility. We've got a lot of roads that are about to be widened, for example, Highway 20, that project alone would be around $6.5 million. Because we have pipes that are in the right of way of Highway 20, we're gonna have to move the pipes outside the right of way when they widen that road.
So when they widen 20, we've got to spend $6.5 million of our money to move our water line.
We've got to do it. If the
'Cause-
state DOT's widening the road,
Because we're in their right of way.
That's not something we do at this point. At this point, the city is taking the policy of acquiring its own right of way, so if the state widens it, then they have to buy our right of way, and
Good.
then they have
They should have done that in the first.
That won't ever happen anyway. That 20 project won't never happen.
Well, not while we're living.
No.
It might for them.
Might in 100 years or something.
Well, they're saying shovel in the ground in 2 years.
Yeah,
So-
they've been saying that all the
Yep.
time.
So we'll see.
There are multiple other projects, I won't bore you with all of them, but, you know, we are looking at, we're trying to project ahead and stay on the ball with sewer capacity. We know that we'll have a 7.5 million gallon per day discharge in the lake here. That plant may be run $85 million. We know we're gonna have to upgrade the water treatment plant at some point, you know, maybe 5 years out, something like that. We're talking 25 million plan, so you're over $100 million of capital improvement projects. And if I've learned anything from the city council over the years, that we like to keep our money in the bank and we like to pay cash for our projects. So we want to do the best we can to generate as much revenue to make that happen like that, at least to the best of our ability. And we get to the point we might have to, you know, sell bonds to build the bigger plants, 75.
Well, are we gonna vote on this tonight?
You came around to compare it to, I don't know what John that deal was.
Thank you, council. I wanted to present it to you tonight at least for consideration. It would be my proposal to go with the proposed. But it
When was
was
the last time we was ever raised?
We did raise water meters 6 months ago. And after looking at what the county went up, we
county matched the county then. They did a in-depth study, looked at their capital improvements, and determined they needed to raise their rates. So when they raised theirs, I felt like we had more room to be able, the development occurring in the same county, we're in the same county, that we had more room to charge more to help build the projects that we got, to keep our system strong. We got road lighting projects, we got, of course, we had to move the lines out of the way, we got capital improvement projects, water tower, bigger line in the building. So just trying to stay ahead of the costs.
You not ready to vote on
I
it?
am.
Any other discussion? Do we have a motion to adopt the proposed new rates?
I'll make a motion, we adopt the raised rates.
Do I have a second? Second by Linda. Please vote. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Mayor Council.
Let the record reflect proposed rates. Next on the agenda is number 2, a presentation on the city center property by Andy Lovejoy.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of council.
Who's the, just a moment, who's the, in-charge engineer for getting the generator put in for City Hall?
I think he's from Georgia Tech, I'm not sure.
GT, huh? Well, he ain't got the shirt on, has he? What's up, Andy?
Thank you for pointing that out.
Before the meeting started, I knew I would refresh this, make sure it didn't time out, but
He just sidestepped that whole question, didn't he?
Yeah, I know, he didn't answer a thing.
you're a politician. Ask a question, I don't answer it.
Just look at
Again, thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity to present on the city center. It's a great project. As a civil engineer, I'm here to present on some of the items, not the pretty things, not the renderings that you have that look fantastic. I'm more involved in the, I want to talk about the technical items, the technical challenges with the site, some of the regulatory considerations. It's kind of an overview of how we think we can solve some of those items. Right now, they're using the city's GIS, and we've identified 5 items that I think we can help the city with. And the first thing is a phase 1 environmental assessment. That's kind of the first thing that we do, because we're going to have to deal with the Corps of Engineers, we're going to have to deal with EPD, and one of the phase 1 site assessment, working with an environmental consultant, he's going to cross our T's and dot our I's on things like historical sites, endangered species, wetlands, just all of those kinds of considerations, Indian artifacts, things like that. I was on the site the other day, and one of the challenges, there's a lot, published data shows that the site is a significant amount of wetlands. I'm not an expert in it, but I was out there, and I know that wetlands vegetation is different than traditional vegetation. And I was out there, and nothing appeared to me to be wetlands. And so the first thing we'll do is a phase 1 environmental assessment, which, among the other things, the most important thing will be to flag and delineate the wetland so we can have it defined, studied specifically, that we can provide to the Corps of Engineers, EPD, and other entities. The second thing, we'll work with a hydrologist. Another big issue is the 100-year flood elevation. You can't develop in a 100-year flood elevation. Right now, the published floodplain on the site is probably about a third of the actual 75 acres. And I'll show you that. FEMA got all this online here. This is FEMA. This is the published 100-year flood elevation. All of this delineated here is floodplain. Right now, I just said earlier, the flood elevation on the the north side of Highway 20 is 1138, right there. Just downstream, the elevation is 1128, 10 feet. So downstream of Highway 20 here, upstream of Highway 20 is up here. That means there's a dam, Highway 20, right there. There's a 6-foot square box culvert, 2 of them. Right now, that hydraulically, according to FEMA, is not hydraulically capable of passing the flow in a 100-year storm event. What we're proposing to do is the hydrologist can do a specific study of this site to determine whether, first of all, whether this is in fact what the actual floodplain is. 2, study whether we can improve that. Like I mentioned, there's a dam right here, Highway 20. We could, thinking in terms of the city center, maybe we could improve the culvert by building like an arch pipe, some kind of bridge over the creek. What that would do, thinking in terms of
Flood the houses.
That's you. Here's the culvert right here. You build like an arch pipe, some kind of bridge. In addition to improving the 100-year flood elevation, we could have pedestrian access. Right now, folks at Hickory Ridge, they can't really get to the city center unless they drive. Crossing Highway 20 is probably not the best idea. We're thinking in our heads about, well, if there's events at the city center, a great place to go to Eagles, park there, pick up some items in the picnic basket, and walk over to the city center. It kind of solves two problems. Add some walkability in addition to this hydraulic. The study for the floodplain, we studied this area, Highway 20. We also need to study down here at Hickory Knoll. We can improve the 100-year flood elevation on your property, but we wouldn't be to the detriment of your downstream property. So there's kind of a balance there of making, we can improve, we can open it up and just have gully washers come down.
That's what I say, we just flood their property.
Yeah, so that's, this is.
Well, one part of what,
Record in the newspaper, this is not about, this is about.
because one problem we have right now is at Hickory Knoll, and this will help all that too.
Yes.
The rain we got a couple of weeks ago, it washed over Hickory Knoll. So we already know that that pipe needs to be upgraded, because it's flooding a guy's house over there anytime we have a substantial, his crawl space is underwater.
Andy, what you talking about, an arch? What is that?
The big, large,
Like that.
large culvert, like half,
Yeah,
Like that would be the roadway,
yeah.
and this might be 20 feet wide, and it's just an arched pipe, and the creek's running through right here.
And you'd have a walkway.
Okay.
And you could have a sidewalk here.
Yeah.
So we've got
exactly.
we've got the 14 acres across the street that developer's donating to us. So you could walk through and walk under 20 to go.
Will the state let us do it, though?
That's part of this process is to go process.
Yeah.
these
With 20, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Do the environmental study, and all those things that, this is a good thing. To them, this is a good thing. They work at a glacial pace, but this is an improvement to the creek, to Kelly Mill Creek.
One issue you've got in doing this study, it'll prove, and I know you went to Georgia Tech, but there's,
Again,
It'll
There's-
improve a triple option, is that what you said?
the flood zone on the proposed site, there's areas of that's 40 feet higher than Highway 20.
correct.
Now, I didn't go to Georgia Tech, but to me, 40 feet higher can't be flooded when 40 feet lower than that's not flooded. So that flood zone, this will help truly define, you know, what the flood zone really is. It's not as large as what it's showing on the map.
And one thing we did, and this is just something we did quickly, the lighter blue is what's published as the floodplain. At elevation 1128, I told my guys in the office, say we could reduce it down to 1132. That represents the darker area here. The floodplain, as it is now, is about just under 30 acres. This is just off the cuff, nothing scientific about it. 6.5 acres. A lot of what you have in your rendering, this development here, it's in the floodplain.
And those were just conceptuals, so it's.
Yeah, sure. But that gives you an idea that what we're proposing to do is define the area that you really have to work with, so that, these renderings can become much more defined. So you'll know what you can do and how much land you have to develop, and it gives you more flexibility to develop, get more creative with parkland, maybe create some wetlands or something that provide some walking trails that give some educational opportunities for kids to, for the different vegetative measures. So let's see. This is a big job. When I was out here walking, right now, this is pretty much the floodplain. They're delineating this as a wetland. It's not wetland. I'm not an expert in it, but I know it's not this big. We'll get the expert to show exactly what it is. And so that was the third thing. Oh, that was the second thing. Third thing, part of this process is to come up with some plans, some ideas, some concepts on what you can do, a restoration plan showing, we're talking about redoing this creek and doing some, we can do some artistic things, maybe some mitigation in here. Across the street, like I mentioned, 14, 15 acres, might be some opportunity there to provide some wetlands and detention, whatever is needed to improve this site, improve the city site, but not at the detriment to the downstream sites. So that's kind of the dynamic that we're talking about. The next thing that's on my list, water. Water's not a problem. You got strong water feed. You'll loop the system from Highway 20 up to Sonny Drive. That's not a problem. One thing I think we ought to do is sewer. Right now, we've got a couple lines coming in. With the city center, you're gonna have a lot more development coming in. And so, recognizing that this, and I don't know for a fact, this might be a choke point. You're going to have development, city center obviously. There's Nestle Down Farms further north off Sonny Drive. I think this is programmed for something. So I think part of the study is to measure the flow at this point, and then measure down.
Are the green lines sewer?
Yes. Yeah, this is your GIS system. The green is sewer, the blue, these are your water mains. I think we measured down here. Because there's a line that ties into the sewer. This is the crosstown sewer, goes from Hickory Ridge Drive here, by gravity all the way over to Pilgrim Road. So that collects a lot of flow. So I think we measure here, two places, just to see, what it's doing now, and when we start adding in some of the new development. And then the last thing, the fifth thing we're thinking about, kind of going backwards, is the culvert there at the creek. Just providing you some renderings and ideas, and we would survey the elevation of the creek, Highway 20, just to make sure that there's room there to get the arch culvert, to have a walkway, or whatever needs to be done. Same thing down at Hickory Knoll. Okay, 66-inch pipe. What do we need to do to make that work? So, are there any questions?
And that's what's in there now, at Hickory Knoll, a 60 inch or 66. It's not big enough. I don't know how big it needs to be, but it's not big enough.
There's a lot of flow in that creek at the front when it rains.
And I've been down there, and, yeah, all the homes along there, they really manicured the yard right down.
Yep.
Yeah, part of this is to find that balance of.
At least
moving upstream and not-
he's getting familiar with it, you know.
Yep.
Any questions, comments?
Doable?
And you could always put rocks up above the floodplain.
What's that?
You could always put walking trails above the floodplain.
You can put them in the floodplain.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, above, you know, where,
Yeah.
that's the whole
Right.
freeway.
Right, exactly.
So,
Every time it rains, it's
so we want to study the floodplain to know what it is, to just provide you more flexibility to do what you want to do. Certainly down at the bottom there, you have parks and some walking trails. And if it floods after a huge rain like we had a few weeks ago, that's what it is. That's
And then you got a proposal of cost to do the studies.
correct. Yeah, the deliverable would be like a design development report, so that you would know what you can do. You've got a 76-acre tract, instead of 29, 30 acres on a floodplain, maybe it's 6 acres, maybe it's 8 acres. Here it is, and you can see, where when you start updating the renderings to fit
Yep.
that.
No, I'm saying if you got a proposal as to the price,
Yes, I provided that too. Oh. We know what you-
we don't have it.
Oh. I've got a copy in my hand. Reading off my notes.
You ain't got no triple option plays on there or nothing, do you?
There are no more triple option plays ever again, right? And Spencer retired. Brutal. He's retired
Don't feel bad, Jason's a Tennessee grad, so he gets it too.
How much that game last year?
Rocky Top.
That was our only good game.
Yeah, so my proposal is, for the phase one flood mapping, everything was $48,000.
What is phase one cover?
Phase one site assessment was $6,000, that's working with an expert to delineate everything, and then we would survey, we would actually physically go out there, get the field data, defining exactly what the wetlands are. Flood mapping hydrologic modeling, that's $7,000, that's to study the floodplain on the city's property, including going downstream past Hickory Knoll. Stream restoration conceptual design, that's $15,000. That's coming up with some sketches on what we could do. I mean, some real drawings showing, okay, this is how we're supposed to propose.
Or we could go in, like on the Hickory Ridge side, they've got riprap that really helps define, establishes the creek banks, and it looks better too. To where, looking at what we could do on the other side as far as that goes.
Do that, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is a timing thing. For us to do what we need to do, that doesn't take long. But it's a case of getting the documents into the Corps camp, say, hey, this is what we're supposed to do, this is what we want to do. And then just.
Getting them to sign off.
Follow up.
That's why we need to start this process now
We
to
gotta
keep,
start somewhere,
to keep the ball rolling.
you know.
But, this is is nothing, you know, the court doesn't look at this as we're trying to get something out of them, they look at, hey, this is a chance.
Them were in that, ain't they?
That's what I'm just writing it down as he's saying it,
I
yeah.
think, like the Deer Association, they've been doing like a program around some of those, you know, banks on those in Miracle. This is a similar type improvement
Yep.
to the water quality.
You need a motion.
Sewer
on that.
analysis,
Yep.
capacity, that was $6,000 to do the hydraulic analysis of everything that's there now, and then what, you know, looking at what can become. And then the final was the conceptual stormwater infrastructure improvements, that was $15,000. That is providing some sketches and some drawings, or field survey to know specifically what the elevations are. To know, okay, this arch culvert, we can put this in, it creates, you know, we can reduce the floodplain from X to Y, or we can have a pedestrian walkway, and those sorts of things, just so there's nothing. And then in addition, the improvements at Hickory Mill.
So the grand total's 48,000?
I
So
make a
am
motion
I-
that we put it on the floor to get him to do the study.
Well, here's my question is, you said 48, but then you said 6, 7, 15,
48?
huh?
Yeah.
I didn't put it on the last page, so, well, it's.
Well, no, 6, 7, that's 49. That's what it's adding up to.
We'll take 48.
I'll do it for 48.
All right.
14,000 for the last one.
See, we,
Waiting for the text, Joe.
I got him working, he knows. He quit wearing that shirt though. I done Butch the same way.
I know.
I didn't let him get by with nothing.
Yeah, part of his training was prepping.
no.
30,
So,
42,
Mhm.
that's 49.
6, 7.
Nobody not count, I had him adding it up.
6 and 7's 13, plus 15's 28, plus 4
Add it up, Chris.
is 34, plus 15's 49. Yeah. But he's agreed to do it for 48. So the, mo-
Love to be part of this project. So many things we do, we don't, you know.
it's not glamorous.
It's not glamorous.
Yep.
That's my motion that
So-
we do that.
Please vote by raising your right hand. Carries 5-0 to proceed with the study. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you very much.
Next is announcements, upcoming Playhouse shows, Christmas and Dixie musical, Thursdays and Fridays at 8, and Sundays at 3 through December 16th. Upcoming fairground events, Winter Wonderland, outdoor ice rink daily through January the 7th, Christmas and Cumming Arts and Crafts Festival, December the 7th from 4 to 9, December the 8th from 10 to 5. A Jingle Jog is December 15th at 3. Christmas Parade and Festival is December the 15th from 5 to 9. And we need to be there what time? 3:45 at the fairgrounds.
At the fairgrounds.
Yeah, where we gonna go to and from?
We're gonna go to the fairgrounds, leave from there on the float and go up to Central, and then we'll come back to the fairgrounds.
Central High School?
Just
Yeah.
us on there? Oh, wait.
We never went that far up.
Yeah.
That's
Now, it
very
might
far
change
we ever
some.
went.
I'm not coordinating it. I'm just
Yeah.
giving you the 30,000-foot view. Executive session, we do have a need to discuss leasing a property.
As well as, pending a potential litigation and property, and property acquisition or sale.
I have a motion that we enter into executive session.
Motion.
Second, please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Thanks, everyone, for coming tonight. Please vote by raising your right hand. Do I have a,
Go ahead.
It's the only thing we need to vote on.
On the Atlanta audio visual suit, if they don't take on the 14th.
do I have a motion?
That's my motion.
Second.
Yeah.
On Monday after the
Second.
14th.
Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Do I have a motion to adjourn public meeting?
Second.
Please vote. Meeting adjourned.
That was pretty.